My dear Bagginses and Buffins.
By the blood of our people, are your lands kept safe?
I see in your eyes the same fear that will take the heart of me.
So do all who live to see such times.
By all that you hold dear, this good earth.
There's some good in this world, and it's worth fighting.
So will there ever be a Black James Bond?
I'm fine with it. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that either.
Yeah, honestly, it's about the actor being able to get the right tone, which is what I was just saying about Lazenby. There's a tone that James Bond needs to hit. Daniel Craig surprisingly doesn't quite hit it for the first bit. Like he eventually gets there for me, but that rougher James Bond, at first I was kind of put off by it, and it's not until Casino Royale really gets going that I start to accept him, and that's when he's in that casino. You start to see the confidence, you start to see the sex appeal and all that stuff. So early on, I was like, hey, they're kind of missing the tone on this James Bond. Like, I know they're trying to get away from Pierce Brosnan, but they're kind of going to this harsh space that Bond, while he does go to in the books, he doesn't want to, and he tries not to take that home with him. And it's more of a mysterious ruthlessness within him that is constantly mentioned, not him always showing it. So yeah, it's a tough tone to get. I think there's a lot of actors that could play James Bond right now. So yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't have a problem with it.
This next one is a discussion though. Is James Bond? I don't know if I'm prepared for it, to be honest.
Should we skip
James
this
Bond...
one? How is this number 3?
Is James Bond problematic and outdated?
Oh God.
Sexism, misogyny, etc.
Well, judging by some of the comments I see on a lot of YouTube videos, not outdated. The themes are alive and well in 2023. That's for sure. Okay.
Would he be on 4chan?
Oh, geez, no, he would hate all those bums. The thing is, yeah, it was written at a different time with a lot of problematic moments in the novels by today's standards. I actually think the movies have done a pretty good job of bringing him closer to modern, whenever the movies are released, bringing him closer in line with the modern ideals of that day, but still giving him wiggle room to be slightly outdated in how he presents himself. And I think that's kind of the charm in a way for me, which it's hard for people to understand that, especially people who view him as a real problem.
I don't like. Yeah, I can see. I don't have a problem with a character having these traits that aren't necessarily acceptable, but I don't think I can deny that. Well, he is kind of a role model. People do look up to him,
right?
That might be a problem.
Okay, so so to that point, and I struggle with this as well. So I'm with you. Fight Club, for example, a lot of people have co-opted Fight Club and take it to places it was never meant to go, and the book is supposed to be making fun of those characters, and it's supposed to be there's supposed to be hints of homoeroticism and all this stuff, and then people take it and they're like, oh, this is super manly and this is super hetero and all this stuff, and it's like they've co-opted it because it's the characters are so intriguing. In the same way, you're right, Bond is a bit of a role model. He
is cool. He gives off that, like, people do kind of want to that'd be like, yeah, he's like,
He
I want him
gives
to
off a
dress
cool.
like
I mean, look at the image right there. The not the Daniel Craig image. That's not that cool. But the Sean Connery image.
I want to go smoke a cigarette right now.
Yeah, I kind of want to take up smoking because of this image. No, I agree that in that scene, Sean Connery is oozing cool. Everyone in this scene is like fascinated with the who is this man, Mr. Bond. It's you're right. It's very compelling, and people. I try to dress when I go out. I try to figure out what would James Bond wear at this outing because I want to look cool. I agree. However, I think, and the books, to their credit, the books sometimes do this too, where James Bond's thoughts on certain on women, on other races, it's upended, and he's wrong, and and that's what almost saves the day is him being wrong. It doesn't always save the day, but it helps. And that happens in a lot of the films as well, where James Bond underestimates his own partner if it's a female partner. She's there to help him on this adventure, and in a way he's like, oh yeah, I completely like dismissed her, but her insight helps.
But I would also say like it's almost like we do kind of look up to the guy, but like the misogyny and all that, it seems more of like a parody in a lot of ways. Like it's not. I don't think it's meant to be taken seriously, but you're right. People do take it seriously.
Yeah. Like I'm not. What I'm saying is, when I watch James Bond, and I'm fascinated by, I like the Sean Connery films, and that has the most sexism in it.
Yes.
I'm not looking at that going, oh man, that's what makes him cool. No, that's not what makes him cool. In this scene, he's not being misogynistic. He's just smoking a cigarette saying my name's Bond, James Bond, which he ad-libbed, by the way. We've already talked about that. So that's really cool. But what I think, I mean, it's almost like, yeah, like you said, it's almost a parody. It's almost showing you like, you can be kind of goofy and out of touch and be cool. And the way I look at it is sometimes like how you might have an old relative who has some older ideas about a certain topic, whether that be race or gender, and you don't hate them for it. They're wrong, and you might point it out, but you're not going to hate them for it. And it's almost like a quirk that they have. That's kind of how I view Bond sometimes. He's got these quirks that, again, I do see that in the films and the novels, they tend to get unraveled, and I think that's why I don't view it as problematic, is because it's not like he's being sexist, which then they're saying this is cool, and then it ends up being true. It's usually the opposite. He's usually cool, then he's sexist, which is not cool, and then that sexism becomes unraveled, and it's like, oh, so that was he was wrong in that scenario. And that's, that's problematic. So I don't view the character itself as being something we need to get rid of, because, again, even though he's a role model, you're not supposed to emulate everything these people do. You're supposed to take the good stuff, like this scene here.
Don't take your dating advice from James Bond.
No, that's because, and you could say the same thing about Indiana Jones if you want to get technical here. Like we can go.
I mean, it's the same thing. Yes.
We can get crazy here and go to a bunch of characters from the '90s and say, look at these guys. This is not right. It's not right. It completely screwed me up when I was younger. Yeah. I had no idea what I was watching. But yeah. I think in James Bond, it's portrayed better than those other films. So
that's true. Do you know which one's? I mean, this is off topic, but MASH. If you watch MASH,
yeah,
it's like they're horrible.
Yeah,
like that's there's no way that's acceptable.
No,
what they're doing in that show.
no, exactly. So like, I think there's other things that are more problematic. I actually think James Bond handles it pretty well. And the character is stubborn. Like, that's part of the charm there as well. So, like, he's resistant to change, even though he kind of knows he's wrong. It's a quirk. And you need these heroes to have flaws. And this is one. And it always is revealed that it's a flaw. And it ends up helping him usually in the end. So, Yeah, I'm fine with this, but I will say most people I talk to, most people I know think he is outdated, is a problem, and they should not make any more movies. So there is that. But I disagree with them.
I don't agree with that either because I think I mean even if you take that stance, you could just adapt the character to the times. You don't need it doesn't need to be as on the nose as
Mm,
Sean Connery's character
true.
was. But
True.
I think it's part of the charm is the womanizing though.
Yeah. It's kind of fun to watch. I'm not trying to emulate it. Happily married. I'm not out there like trying to be James Bond. I just think it's a fun quirk of the character that you don't really get anywhere else.
Yeah. Whether Bond movies should be serious or silly. Well both. I think both.
So I think they need to be serious. They need to be about a serious topic, like someone's gonna blow up the world or something. And I think there has to be serious moments, but there has to be some fun moment. Like that's part of how you get away from the hyper realism is you give Bond some fun goofy gadgets, you give him a situation that's just kind of silly and fun and see how he's able to use his charm and charisma to get out of it. You have these fun moments that happen nowhere else. No other films have a moment where the villain and Bond are like sitting and Bond's captured, and yet he still has like this demeanor that is, you're the villain, I'm the hero. Now fix me a drink. Like he's got this like attitude about him. You don't find that anywhere else. At least not normally. And I really like that. It's kind of a fun moment where you're like, how is he going to get out of this one? Oh, he's asking for a martini. He's not even concerned he's about to be murdered. So there's like those moments, those are just fun, but at the same time it can't be over the top goofy, cuz then you borderline into a parody of itself, and we have enough good parodies of James Bond. What we need is the real deal. So it's a tough one it's a tough line to walk, I think. Daniel Craig, for all the criticism I have, and I actually enjoyed most of the films, but for all the criticism I have, he does lean into the serious over the silly. And I actually think they did a decent-ish job for the most part, but there could have been more fun. Like they did get away from the gadgets. They got away from a lot of the scenes that take place on a mission, but like building up to the mission where he's just staking out at a restaurant or something, and that's where he gets to kind of be charming and cool. Those kind of fun moments, I think they need a bit more of in their next installment. Like if you read these books, that's a lot of the time. He's just in an airport drinking, some drink like either like a bourbon or something, and like he's just like watching people and like figuring out his mission, and they kind of don't have enough of that in the Daniel Craig one. He just kind of zooms from place to place doing stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I digress. I think we're on the same page with that one. And then we obviously got who was the best James Bond. Well, I grew up on a particular Bond.
Well, I Brosnan and Connery are the two I like. Yeah.
Right. So I grew up on Brosnan. That was my first. I mean, I grew up with the Nintendo 64. You had GoldenEye, and then you had the GoldenEye film, which is fantastic. One of the best Bond films. If you were to rank all the Bond films, it's near the top for sure. However, he only gets 5 movies in, and some of them, I still find them fun, but I know a lot of people checked out. They leaned a little too much into the gadgets. Maybe it was a bit too silly. They didn't have enough of the gritty, serious tone. I still personally enjoy them, but I will say, having now I'm older and I've watched all of them again. Sean Connery, there is something charismatic about him that I can't I don't understand what it is. Pierce has it in moments. They all do. But Sean Connery, he could be hiding in a closet of a bad guy's little boat or something, and it's still cool. Like he still does it in a cool way, and I don't understand how. So I might have to give it to Sean. I love Pierce. I would, had you asked me this 2 years ago, a year ago, I would have said Pierce hands down. Having rewatched them all, there's just something I can't figure out about Sean, which makes him just so interesting to watch. Visually, Sean Connery understood what James Bond was supposed to be doing with his body as he moved.
And he made the character.
Right.
Like, and him ad-libbing James Bond. I mean, that maybe he won right there.
Yeah. I mean, look at the look. Even in this photo, they have that same cigarette. Look at the look. He doesn't care about he's in this casino on a mission and he doesn't care about any of this. He's like, my name's Bond, James Bond. Let's get this over with. Like he is like, that's just dripping charisma. You look at these other photos. Yeah, Pierce has got some coolness to him.
They're all just trying to be Sean.
Yeah, they're all trying to be cool. Except for, what is Roger doing there? I don't know why they have a picture of him kind of grimacing there. Anyway, so I would give it to Sean. I don't know why people debate between Roger Moore and Sean. Between those two, it's clearly Sean. And then, unfortunately,
I think that comes down to the silly or gritty debate,
right?
A little bit.
And if that's what that comes down to, I'm going Sean Connery. I'm going, I guess, gritty, because Roger Moore is the silly. Even though I like Pierce over Daniel, which anyway, it's hard to please all Bond fans, which is the whole point of this. But I'm curious if you, the viewers, agree on any of these, and what do you guys think down below? We're gonna do a revisit to this, so leave your comments and we're gonna go through them and kind of see what other people think, because I'm curious. I have my own thoughts, and so do you, but I want to know what others think, because ultimately that kind of decides how James Bond proceeds into the future, and I'm curious about that.